Our bodies are our greatest allies if we learn how to listen to them. When I'm working with women, a lot of times something I hear is, I can't believe I didn't know this. I can't believe I'm not doing better.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Hello Moxie. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Dr. Brittney McGeehan, and she does so much work in the space of trauma and healing from complex trauma. And I've been dying to interview her. I'm so excited to hear from her today. And I'd love, Dr. Brittney, if you could tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what is lighting you up right now.
Yes. I love this intro. Oh my gosh. So I'm a licensed psychologist and a high performance coach for high performing women who they want it all. Is the most simplistic way, right? Like they want the career, the business, they want everything outside of motherhood, but they also want themselves, and they also want motherhood, and they also want the marriage. And my work is all about integrating all of those worlds via a deeper sense of themselves, to put it very succinctly. It's so much fun. And honestly, what's lighting me up right now is continuing to build my village. We're all about outsourcing at our house. And I've got 2 kiddos under the age of 3. And so we're busy. We're so busy. And we're in a season of continuing to bring in more help, more support at home, all the things. And as we've done that, I've gotten pieces of myself back as we're making it out of the baby season. And it's just this most glorious, heartbreaking, beautiful, all of it, right? But I'm like, oh yeah, there she is. More of me is coming into the set. That's what's lighting me up right now.
Oh, I love it. Well, I have to know. Tell me the names of your kids, just their first names.
Yes. Okay, so Sammy and Naya.
Sammy and Naya. Oh, beautiful. And that's such a beautiful age. I love that for you.
It
That's
is. It's
exciting. So
magical.
my oldest is now turning 15, and it feels like she was 2 yesterday. So this
Yes.
is crazy how fast it goes.
Yes.
So, and I just resonate so much with your work because I am that woman. You are speaking to me.
Mhm.
And I think we want to have, we want to have it all. And we are, so I'm excited to dive into that a little bit more and talk through it.
Yes.
So yeah, so one of my first really things that I wanted to talk about is just this idea of being an overachiever. Okay, so I have been an overachiever my whole life. I am a recovering workaholic, and it has been part of my DNA. And I think there's a lot of women who also feel this intense need to achieve and to do and to be successful. And you talk about this idea of this being an overachiever and building this kind of false self. And I'd love to hear more from you about this false self and how we can allow ourselves to reclaim parts of our authentic selves that maybe were suppressed, especially for women who may have had, traumatic or difficult childhoods.
Yeah. So, what I talk with my clients about is that I work from a neurodevelopmental perspective,
Hmm.
which means I focus 0 to 18, because
Okay.
that's when the bulk of our personality has the ability to come out, right? And we're a mixture of nature, meaning that's just how we came into this world, and nurture, which is how do we react to our environment. And the false self is developed really sometime between the age of 5, which, if you have ever been around a 5-year-old, that's it, right? It is precious and beautiful, and they have not been exposed to the world a ton just yet. And sometime between then and adolescence, the kids get really, really smart about the things that they are being rewarded for. And so, especially with oldest daughters, is who I talk to a ton, right? Yes, same, right? I'm like 2 hands, a 3 if I had them. We're rewarded for the things that we do, and the way that we don't need anything, rather than who we really are. So, oh my gosh, you got 5 goals in soccer. You got an A plus on this. If you got a B, you could have gotten an A. And this really gets fused with our personality, but it's an adaptation, right? Because children, they have to be in connection with their parents, and it doesn't matter who their parents are. Whatever their parents are giving them, that is equated to love. And so this false sense really develops when you're in a container, when you're in a home where that is consistently what you are receiving love and affection and attention for, is what you do rather than who you are.
Mm.
And so that's really where that develops, right? So my work is about really going to find the 5-year-old, maybe even younger, right? Like, who were you before that? And how do we give her more of a voice and really integrate her? And, before we hit record, you and I were talking about like the color, right? The background, in my background, talking about, we both like color a whole lot. For me, that's my 5-year-old coming through, right?
Mm.
She was sparkles. She was sparkles. She was glitter. She was like tutu. She wanted to be in front of everyone. And so now I love yapping for a living. Right. And that's kind of what bringing that authentic self out looks like. A lot of people will be like, well, I don't want to act like a 5-year-old. And I'm like, cool. I mean, sometimes it's fun, but you really don't have to. You just give her a voice in a way that feels doable.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Find the 5-year-old. So how do we find the 5-year-old?
Mm. One of the very first exercises that I have clients do is I tell them to go to a toy store. Uh,
Mm.
yes. Yeah. And I always tell them, you get a gold star, you get kudo points, which my overachievers, they love it. Me too. If you bring a picture of yourself at 5 years old,
Yeah.
and you go and you pick out a toy, and you don't take your kids, you don't choose a toy that you can play with your children or with your nieces and your nephews. Like, I want you to hold that picture up in the toy store, in the toy aisle, and I want you to ask her, what do you want?
Mm.
And that actually tends to be one of the most challenging exercises that I
Yeah.
have my clients do, because they never actually really learned how to play. And that is, I mean, that's part of how you start that process, though, right? Is you get really quiet and you're okay with doing it wrong and feeling weird, because it's a new skill, just like anything else.
Mm.
Um, and I always tell, and sometimes I'll get phone calls like in the toy store of like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And I'm like, just do it. Just pick one and see if you like it. Bring it home and play with it, so you can't stick it in the closet. But you're
Mm.
developing a relationship, right, with a new person. So you do it just like you would any other relationship. You just spend time.
I love that exercise. That's so beautiful. Yeah, it really aligns with my work on the Moxie method. And the first stage is all about the seed, which is planting this foundation of like just getting comfortable with what your body is telling you and listening to your body. But then that second stage is all about curiosity and play and experimentation. And you hit the nail on the head that for so many women, we never learned to play. It wasn't safe for us to play. And so like to go into a toy store, like even like I want to do this exercise, but for me to go into a toy store, I think I would freeze a little bit, of like,
Yes.
what do I, and then I would maybe second guess myself. Do I really want to play with this toy? Is this
Hmm.
really what my 5-year-old self wants to do? Because there's like that self trust that has to kind of develop and come through, that we do. So that's such a cool exercise. What have you noticed shift most
Hmm.
for your clients as they do that?
They start to get comfortable with being messy, to be honest. I would love to be like, it's amazing and it's a beautiful connection and it's made, and it's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I want them to get practice, and what they see is it's okay to do something before you can do it perfect, which is so hard, right? For myself included. Like,
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate basketball. That's not true. I just have no hand-eye coordination. And I want to be good at everything I do. And so they get more comfortable being in relationship with themselves and just being willing to risk it, and then talk about the process along the way of
Mm.
being able to say, this is so uncomfortable. Because oftentimes when my clients come in, even though they're in this space to heal, they're still pretty buttoned up. It's really vulnerable to step into that space of, this is so hard and overwhelming. So that's the biggest. Yeah, they get comfortable with that.
I love that so much. So I will tell you, like on my own journey of like just really coming to know myself, one of the things that I started getting curious about was writing. I used to
Mm.
love writing when I was a kid. I used to write plays, and my fourth grade teacher would put them on for the class, and then I just
Oh.
kind of like I know, and then I lost it. I stopped writing, and so
Mm.
a couple years ago, I just kind of felt this itch to start writing again, and through like kismet or whatever the universe sent my way, I ended up finding this playwriting class. No joke. I found a
Oh,
playwriting class
oh.
and I started writing this play. And I will tell you, like, what you said about being comfortable with the mess, I felt that so much through the whole process because when you're writing or when you're learning anything new for the first time, you have to learn to trust your intuition and just kind of like go with whatever comes out and also get comfortable with the fact that it's going to be messy when you get it out on the page the first time. Like literally, I remember my playwright coach telling me like just get it out, just vomit it on the page basically. You just need to get it out. It doesn't need to be pretty or perfect. You just need to get it out. And then you have something you can work with. And it's the joy. Like I found so much joy in this process of like the experience of it doesn't need to be perfect the first time. I can redo it and tweak it and I can find joy in that. I can find joy in the iterating and the like working on it and exploring and seeing what would I do? What would it look like if I tried this? What would it look like if I tried that? And it's been such a
Mm,
great like learning experience for someone like me who has been like a recovering overachiever, perfectionist, all of those things. So
Oh my gosh, that's so lovely. Oh, yes.
yeah,
Ugh.
so fun. So I love that. I think that's such a great exercise for our listeners to try is like go into that toy store. What do you want to play with? What are you curious
Mm-hmm.
about? And just go for it and embrace the mess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would love to know a little bit more. Like we on the show, we're really all about celebrating women in history and kind of like through my work at Hella Moxie, just like the thread that connects women to the women of the past. And, I think one of the biggest things as I look at women in history is, especially women who've been successful, is I'm so curious about like how intergenerational trauma shows up in
Mm.
women's roles and in their relationships, like historically, even today. What are your thoughts on like this whole intergenerational trauma and how it shows up for women and their roles and how we can kind of empower ourselves to move out of that
Oh my
again?
gosh. I mean, that is like the not the basis, but the foundation, right, of a lot of my work is part of when women come in, I'm getting their histories. I want to know, I want to be all up in your business. I want to know all about mom. I want to know all about dad, because I tell
Mhm.
people when you tell me that that history, that story, I see which pieces you have inherited, right? Because we learn how to be women from our mothers. We learn who and how to love someone by how we interact with our fathers and our mothers. And we're essentially handed a relationship template.
Mm,
When I'm working with women, a lot of times something I hear is, I can't believe I didn't know this. I can't believe I'm not doing better, right? There's always this
mm,
edge, this push to be better. And what I tell them is, how would you know how to speak a language that you've never heard?
mm,
And the language that we're speaking, the way that we're in relationship with ourselves and with the people around us, that is a direct reflection of the relationships we've grown up in, which those relationships are a direct reflection of how our parents were raised, right? And I firmly believe that every generation we're somehow moving forward, and there's opportunity. There's always a crisis and an opportunity, right? Depending on how you look at something. And something I see, especially with my current clients, is they have beautiful ability to reflect and really get curious about, to your point, where did this idea come from, especially for the moms that I work with. Oh my gosh. And that are like pushing 7, 8 figures, right? Like
mhm.
high pressure environments. And they have this idea in their mind of, but then I have to make it home and I have to do dishes and I have to do laundry and then I have to spend time with the kids and I have to do gentle parenting and I got to do it just right, otherwise they're right, like it is, they're going to be in therapy and my and I it is one of my favorite things to be like, who said that? Who decided that was motherhood? I'm a firm believer that
Mm,
laundry and dishes and cooking, that's not motherhood, that's home management, and it is a part of providing. But who
mm,
said that had to be your job? And so, one of my favorite things to, a lot of the women I work with, they're very tactical, right? Like, start with the strategy, start with the over, but then give me give me
yeah.
the things. And I have them operationally define their idea of what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a
Mhm.
wife, what it is to be a mother, and like list it out down to it is my job to be my husband's prefrontal cortex and to remind him that he needs to go to the dentist and he needs to pick up the kids, right? Like, I want you to get nitty gritty. And next to it, I want you to write down where you learned that,
Mm.
because chances are you've just inherited this belief and this idea. And actually, no one knows you, no one knows your experience, no one knows, thinking about your framework, no one knows your body and your like intake for some, no one knows that except for you. So you're a grown up. You get to decide if that's actually going to be a part of your marriage or your career or your motherhood. I always tell women, like, you're the boss of your whole life in the best way.
Oh, I love that. You're the boss of your whole life. Oh, who said that it had to be your job to do it that way? That is so powerful. That's so empowering. I love that. So I have a follow-up question to that. Like, as women, as mothers, as wives, for the women who want to have it all, how do you embrace this in a way that also honors the people that you're in relationship with? So
Mhm.
there's, obviously there's so much value in creating this, like, this is what it is to be a woman, this is what it is to be a wife. How do you navigate that in relationship with someone else? Does that make
Yes,
sense?
yes. Well, I'll tell you what comes to mind, and then you tell me if that is an answer.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for me is I always tell women, if you're going to change the rules in a relationship, we have to over communicate to the person that we're in a
Oh,
relationship with. So just let them know, hey, I'm changing the rules. And we like to phrase it as, this is my reality. You get to, I always say there's three realities in the room. There's the quote unquote truth, there's the other person's, and there's my reality. And so you're simply bringing to the table, right? You're letting them know, hey, the story that I've had in my head is that it's my job to make sure that you have clean underwear every single day.
mm.
And moving forward, I want to let you know I hate it and I'm not doing it. And I'm going to show up way better as a wife whenever I let you take ownership of that. So moving forward, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then you let them have their reality and you figure out a compromise in there. But it's just communication, right? Letting them know I'm
Yeah.
changing the rules, and you bring them into the equation, because I think a lot of times we get in our head, this is really selfish, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think
I think that's
truly,
very common for women. I think as you
yes.
were saying this, that's one of the first things that came up is, oh, but it's selfish.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And again, it's like, is it like, who taught us that?
Exactly.
And
Like, it's that
when,
sometimes it's those automatic thought patterns that we have to start to question, right? That come up.
yes, exactly. And, I have yet to have the experience of, I think there have been plenty of partners who have had their own reactions and emotions to it of, oh my gosh, it feels really personal.
Mm,
But when you ground in, this isn't actually, it doesn't have anything to do with you, it has everything to do with me and how I want
mm,
to show up and be in our relationship together. And I
mm.
would like to take this step forward. And I really want you to come with me. Are you open to
Yeah.
that? It tends to go over well, even
Yeah.
if it's messy. Again, even if it's, my relationships are hard and they're messy.
Oh, embrace the mess. Mm,
Hmm.
so good. I love that challenge to ask yourself, write down what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a wife, what it is to be a mother, and write down where you learn that belief. And then start to really get curious and ask yourself, who said it has to be that way? And how would you change the rules? That's such a great challenge.
Hmm.
Oh, I love it. Our listeners are going to eat that up.
I love it.
Oh man. Okay, so cool. So, okay, I would love to know more about specifically the role that our body plays in so many things, but specifically, what is the role that our body plays in healing trauma and stepping fully into our own power?
Mm. Oh my gosh, I love this question so much. Right? I mean, I always like, our bodies are our greatest allies if we learn how to listen to them. Truly, I mean, they are the one partner with us that we can guarantee will always be there in some capacity, right? And so, anytime there's trauma, especially complex trauma, there's a connection between the mind and the body. And when you are in ongoing trauma, that connection is severed.
Yep.
And so, what that does is it really robs you of your ability to take in the totality of reality, right?
Yep.
Because our body is the thing that gives us access to all of the sensory input in the world. And that is what helps us create an idea of what emotion we're feeling, what we think about that thing, and how we want to behave moving forward. When you're healing, and this can be very challenging. So when my clients come in, I always tell them we're building your team. I love what I'm doing. I would love to be like, oh my gosh, you're going to work with me and now you're healed. But that's absolutely not the case. I do what I do very well, but you have to bring in other modalities, whether that is massage, myofascial release, acupuncture, energy work, because we have to wake her up. Right. However it is that you decide to gender this vessel, right? Or not at all. But that takes support. And so again, coming back to childhood, thinking about how was your body treated? Children need to be touched in very loving ways. My daughter loves to have a hand on her face, just like so gentle, right? And she just melts. But you have to recreate those experiences in adulthood when you're healing. And one of the easiest ways to do that, because I'll have a lot of clients who will be like, my partner should be doing that. They should be giving me a massage. And I was like, wouldn't that be so great if one person could be all the things to us? But there's also something so healing about moving into a space where it is literally this person's job to hold you in this way, and where you can start to notice and just kind of wake up to the sensations that are taking place. And as you do that, that connection starts to come back and the energy starts to flow in a really beautiful way. And she starts to talk to you more. And I always give people the heads up, like she's usually real loud and she's usually pretty cranky at you of like, how dare you ignore me for this long? With way too many HIIT workouts, with way too many cold plunges.
Right?
Those are
Yes, totally. Oh man. Oh, Brittney. This is just so resonating with me. Okay,
yes.
so resonating with me. I remember I had a beautiful executive coach who I remember she challenged me many years ago to, she's like, what would it be like for you if you just spent time with yourself? And I remember when she asked me that, I was like, what would I, literally my first question was like, what would I do? And that was the first thing that popped in my mind. What would I do with myself? And I was just kind of like, spend time with myself. What does that mean? And she's like, just what if you were to just be with yourself? And it was such a foreign concept for me at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take on this challenge. I'm just going to go and I'll just sit and just have a conversation with myself. And I will tell you, Brittney, I remember sitting there trying to talk to myself and I just felt all this pressure. Like I needed to get answers from this person, right? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And it was so uncomfortable. And I remember going back to my coach and she's like, what if you just let it be what it is and there's no pressure? And so it was like this beautiful invitation for me to just like not feel the pressure, to just be with myself. And I remember I went to a park bench one day. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit and be with myself and sit on this park bench for like 4 hours and like
Wow.
literally just sit and do nothing. And I'm not going to write anything. I'm going to keep my phone in the car. I'm not going to, like, just literally lay on the bench and just be present in that moment. And I
Wow.
remember when I did that, I'm telling you, the first hour, I was so antsy. I laid on that bench and I was like, what am I doing? I've got to do something. But the more I stayed there, the more I didn't want to leave. And the more I started to listen and notice those sensations in my body that were telling me certain signals, it was like was able to kind of like get this awareness that that had been severed for me, very much so. So I can very much relate to this. So I have a question about this because I mean I went 40 years without even realizing, truthfully, the level of disconnection that I had with my body. And I know I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of women who don't even recognize or aren't even aware that they are dissociating, that they're not connected with their true self, and they're not even aware of what it could be like for them on the other side, you know? So what advice would you have for any woman to really try to get awareness on whether or not they are really in communication with their body or not? You know what I mean?
One of the first questions that I tend to ask people is how consistent, how steady do you feel? Do you feel like you are able to ride the waves day to day? Or do you feel like you move, 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 and then you hit the wall? And then you move, 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 and you hit the wall, right? That's
Mhm.
like a dorsal vagal shutdown when you're just like, mer. But people don't realize it. They think they're just very fast paced and then they need a break. And what I tell people is we actually kind of want to like lube up the nervous system a little bit, which sounds kind of weird, but we want to be able to like ride it, right? We want to be able to move in and out of different states in an easy way.
Mhm.
And so, do you feel like pretty consistently throughout the day, yes, I get stressed, but then I come back down, and then I get stressed, and then I kind of come back down, and I know how to take care of myself in that
Mhm.
way? Or do you feel like, no, I'm good? I'm good. And then there's definitely times when I'm not, and that's really hard, but then I'm good. Like that tends to be a cue for
Mhm.
me if there's a lot of control there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of I value being good. And usually when that's happening, because no one is good all the time, right? That's just unrealistic. Really,
Totally.
we're just, I talk about nervous system agility, right? We just
Mhm.
want to be able to move within the nervous system. So that tends to be like one of the
Mm.
biggest indicators that there's probably some disconnection there.
Oh, that's such a great question for people to really start to understand where they're at with their relationship with their nervous system and their body. And ooh, I love that. Such man, fantastic, Brittany. So good. What have you noticed like when you ask women or your clients this question, is it hard for them to accept that they may be in a state where their their nervous system is out of whack and they're not connected? Or are they usually pretty open?
No, my gosh, even like when we're in one to one and we've no, I mean, it
Mm.
takes I've had women that I've worked with for months, right? Usually 6 months tends to be my sweet spot. They'll be like 5 months in and I'll be like, hey, like that's an issue. Did you realize that? And they'll be like, I don't really think so. And right there's how dare you? What do you mean? Usually they're able to come back around. I work really hard on teaching them the flags of defensiveness and some emotional regression.
Ooh, what
So
are the
just
flags of defensiveness?
yeah, like are we thinking black and white? Are we
Yeah.
all or nothing? Are we feeling a judgment, even if that is toward ourselves? Or are we going one up on someone, which is typically what these women tend to do? Well, like this person doesn't know what they're talking about anyway, and I think you're wrong, right?
Mm,
Versus the indicator we look for, the green flag, is curiosity,
yeah.
right? That is like ding, ding, ding. Our frontal lobe is on, but anytime we cannot practice that curiosity toward ourselves, that is a red flag, that we are feeling defensive. And speaking of the body, you literally tend to move back. So that tends to be one of the big giveaways for me as I'm watching someone and listening
Mm,
to them is their voice will get a little bit quieter, their shoulders will come in just a little bit, or their chest, they'll physically like move away from me. And
interesting.
it's real subtle, right? It's very
Yeah.
subtle, but it's just this other sort of mask that kind of comes online, and they're like, "Ooh, I didn't like that."
Mm, so helpful. Okay. Oh, I have so many questions. This is just so good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about rest and
Mhm.
because it's, you work with high achieving women who are just like you mentioned before, they're just like go go go, they hit a wall, right? And they haven't learned to kind of like ride the waves of their nervous system and identify the signals sooner of when it's time for their body's telling them they need to slow down.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about like rest? Because I think so many of us as women, we feel unseen, we feel lonely, we feel disconnected. We're carrying these heavy loads. We're taking care of the house, we're taking care of the team, we're taking care of our husbands and all in the community a lot of the time. And so rest feels like almost just like an afterthought for a lot of
Mhm.
women. And how, so I'd love to know more about how you help redefine success so that rest is part of it. Success, rest equals success rather than it being an
Mhm.
afterthought. Like what needs to shift? How do you get women to think about that and kind of like make it intentionally part of the way that they are?
Mhm. So it really kind of comes in stages, right? Initially, I am telling them that you are probably going to have to pay for a container for someone to help you. The more
Mm,
stressed you are, the more it's going to feel like you are white knuckling your body into going and resting if that's not a space that you're used to, right? Especially thinking back to childhood. If you didn't have that experience of knowing, it's actually really healthy and beautiful to be bored. it's really healthy and beautiful to just go and relax. That the body doesn't know that. It just feels like a foreign stimulus. And so we read it as danger. So I tell people initially, and especially if there's big disconnection, I don't want you to worry if your body is like, oh, no, thank you. Right. I
Mm.
remember my myofascial release therapist, the very first time I saw her, I was like, I like deep tissue, like pressure massages. And she was like, oh, not everything has to hurt to heal. And I was like, ah, I hated it. And it has been one of the most profound containers, right? But
Mm.
initially, it is I want you to go find someone you feel comfortable with, and I want you to make it a part of your regimen. And so, in the same way that, your inbox time and your lead generation and your meeting with the leadership team is non negotiable, at least 1 hour of a container of rest. And initially, it's not go and play or go rest on your own because usually their bodies don't know how to do that. So, it's go
Yeah.
get a massage, go get acupuncture, go get someone who's going to teach you that this is what it feels like, and you're going to stay there for a hot minute.
Mm.
And from there, I really encourage them to think about it as being a strategic leadership move because it is.
Mm.
A well connected, a well regulated founder, leader, anyone in any position of leadership, they are going to have a well regulated team. And like we quite
Amen.
literally, right? Like we can control, not control, but like you kind of can't, it's co regulating. We do it in parenting too. When my daughter's having a meltdown, if I literally sit on my hands and I say, I am a plant in my head 50 times, she rides the waves and she comes out of it and it's great. Same exact thing happens at a table full of C suites, right?
Totally.
If you can just breathe, then you can bring that prefrontal cortex online. So we start initially very minimally, right? Here is your 1 hour a week. And then it's how do we broaden? How do we find the same feeling in your body, but we don't necessarily have to go get a massage in order to do that?
Mm.
It
Yeah.
could be sitting in a coffee shop. It could be whatever. And then from there, I really encourage them to build it into their quarterly forecasting, just like anything else.
Mm.
So as we're looking, if you have a launch, if Q4 is a nightmare, beautiful. I want you to go and schedule 3 times the hours of rest per week that you're typically scheduling to just preemptively be aware. And the more you do that, you're really building that relationship with that 5-year-old. She knows that she can trust you. It's where the concept of attachment and self trust really comes in. And the more you build that muscle, the easier it is. Like your body's really going to start talking to you.
Yeah, I've noticed that for myself too. It's the more you kind of start to crave that because if you are an overachiever, if you grew up in a, difficult, family attachment style environment, I can't talk right now, then chaos is your normal. And that's all you
Yes.
know. And so when you're in, I mean, in so many ways, like it makes so much sense that you get into the workforce and you're just because chaos is your normal, you're just craving the chaos because that's what you know. That is what safety looks like for you is to be in chaos.
Mhm. Yes.
So like you don't even
Yes.
realize. And so it's amazing once you really start to learn a new way of being. For myself personally, you stop craving the chaos and you really start to crave the rest so much more.
Mm.
And you're so much more creative. Like it's mind blowing. I can tell you, like, since I've
Yes.
actively done that, like, there's research that, I mean, you know all about this. Like, there's this default mode network that when we actually take the time to shift into these activities where we're bored, where we're staring out of windows, we're daydreaming, we're taking naps, our brain shifts into this default mode network. And that's where, like, problem solving, creativity, insights are happening. And when you look at the most highly creative individuals, Einstein, Da Vinci, and you look at how they were and how they were in the world, they made so much time to rest. Like Da Vinci would sit
Mhm.
and stare at his paintings, and Einstein would just drift in his sailboat. Like there's
Mhm.
so much that we can learn from that I think is lost in the world today. So I think this is such a beautiful, I just love it. I'm just like totally.
Yes. Yes.
What have you noticed shift for your clients the more they practice this?
Mm, the creativity is huge, right? The creativity, the vision.
Mm,
A lot of my clients come to me when they're scaling. I'm learning that's like even like the
yeah.
niche within the niche, right? So I've had clients who, I mean, they're jumping big revenue big revenue gaps and an accelerated rate. But at the same time, all of a sudden, their teenage daughter wants to spend time with them.
Oh, yep.
Right. Like it is. And all of a sudden, their marriage, which, and typically people go through this space of, did I just blow everything up? Am I
Mm,
going to end up getting divorced? Am I going to, because they've said something really vulnerable, they've changed the rules, the dynamic. But on the other end of it, right, is I have never felt more connected to my partner. And
mm,
usually the reframe is, I don't think you've ever felt that connected to yourself before. And I mean,
interesting.
everything really catapults and is launching forward, but in a way where nothing is actually on fire, even if it feels like it is. So there's big dissonance that can initially come online because things just, they accelerate, they move quicker. And the question I think they have to wrestle with, I know I've had to wrestle with, is, can I be safe, and also can this be happening? Is that, like, can this actually be true? Can this be a thing? And not that there's never going to be any stress, but am I capable of like navigating that stress?
Hmm.
Can I actually like live this life where I can be building, doing all of these things, crushing it at work, and also I get to come home in the afternoons and spend time with my 5-year-old, and like I get to make their favorite dinner when I want to, not every single night if I don't want to. My
Yeah.
partner actually moves forward, and I'm not project manager of my marriage. Yeah, like it it's really cool.
Very special. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love what's waiting for on the other side for us when we embrace more rest. And it's I've seen it myself. So many of those things you just mentioned I've experienced personally too. It's so empowering. And the
Mm.
thing that's interesting about it is like, I went through a period of burnout, well, many times in my career, but like the final moment where it was like the final straw was when I was in a relationship that was not, it was a business relationship that was not a healthy situation at all. And when I intentionally made step after that ended, and I made some steps afterwards, it was amazing to me. It's like I had this massive period of growth that just like and I wasn't working as much. Like I had stopped. I took Fridays off, and I started
Yes.
traveling more, and which is what I love to travel. And so I was like traveling more than I ever had. I was working less, and for some whatever reason, it was like everything bloomed. Like, and it
Mm-hmm.
was incredible. I can't advocate for this enough. It's amazing. So, oh
Mm.
my gosh, I'm your biggest fan, Brittney. So everyone out there, you need to connect with Brittney. She's amazing. So, okay, well, we can just talk all day and go on and on. But I would love to know. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, and I would love to know. We love to talk about women in history on the show, and I would love to know who is a woman in history who has really inspired you.
Mm. So my go-to is Hedy Lamarr. Uh,
Ooh,
I
Hedy Lamarr.
Yes,
Tell our
yes.
listeners all about Hedy Lamarr.
She was an actress, but she was
Mhm,
also an intellect. So she was literally known as like the American bombshell or something like that. But
mhm,
also she developed the like foundational technology for Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi. So to me, she's always been the definition of I can do whatever I want and I can do it
mhm.
well. um because yeah, like what you saw on the outside, that was not the full picture, and she's known for just shaking things up and saying I can do this and I can do it better, and I won't be defined by one piece of myself.
Mm.
I think that's incredible.
It is incredible. Like, sometimes, okay, so this is something I struggle with is this idea that I need to do one thing and that's the thing. And I need to do that well and I can't do anything else. And I have to pick. I've got to do the one thing.
Mhm.
And, but I'm an Enneagram 7. And I like to do a lot of things. It's just like
Yes.
how I'm wired. And I think that's true for a lot of women is like, and it sounds like with Hedy Lamarr, like she was hugely successful as an actress, but then she was also this amazing scientist who came up with this incredible technology that we still use today. I mean, significant like contribution that she made. And so I think it's a wonderful invitation or reminder as women that we don't have to be in a box. Like break
Mhm.
the walls of the box down, and if you're curious about something or something's pulling you, just like follow where it leads. And you don't have to just fit in this narrow box of what, you know, anyway, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. So tell me a
Mm-hmm.
story about Hetty. What do you love about her? What are some of the values that she has that you just are just like, man, this is so resonant.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was known for being very upfront about what she wanted. I'm not sure how to put that like
Mm.
in a values term.
Yeah.
Like there was lots of integrity there though, and lots of steadfastness and no, this is what I believe, while also combining this element of excellence. So she
Mm.
took, right, these ideas, made them better. She was creating something new. And like, so I'm Enneagram 3, and that is like the excellence kind of piece of it, right? Always pushing for more, that is for better and for worse, something that I value. But the fact that she took that and yeah, she didn't limit herself to one thing. So she's known for saying like, I'm going to turn down this role because I'm in the middle of this project. I'm in the middle of developing this scientific breakthrough, if you will, right? Like, sorry, I'm busy. No, thank you.
Mm.
And just to have like, and this in the best way, but the audacity, the courage, the bravery, the connection to self of this is like who I am. This is what I want. And I want to say, I read once that like her IQ was like 140 or something like off the charts, wild. And I just, I've always been fascinated and so intrigued by this idea of that she truly said, "No, I want this and." Like to me she embodied this idea of and that I think we talk about a ton of I want to be the mother and I want to run the company. I want to move up this like to me I was like that's just like the best example of it.
So good. I'm so curious, like, how did she become an actress and a scientist? Like, how did she even get into this world where she's developing this new technology? Like, which started first? Was she a scientist first and then became an actress? Or was she an actress first and then found herself in this new, do you know? Or I don't.
So you can't like hold me to this whatsoever. Like I'm like I could tell you what I think I read and also
Mhm. Yeah, totally fine. We'll fact check
yes. Yeah, I was about to say, please go fact check. But I want to say that she was an inventor first, like that was home
it.
base. And then
Mhm.
she, as she developed like in her career, she got into acting. That was kind of like the afterthought. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, yes, definitely don't hold me to that one.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I'm looking it up on our lovely ChatGPT. But I think what it
Yes, what a chat
highlights is
say.
just like that it's a perfect example of just being able to be multidimensional. That there doesn't
Mhm.
have to be one version of yourself. And it's beautiful. We had someone on the show who talked about Nancy Wake, who was also
Mm.
a really amazing woman during the World War II era, who was this incredible spy and could speak a billion different languages, who also had this
Oh.
amazing career. But I just love this. I love this idea of no, I want this and I
Mhm.
love what you shared too about how she would turn down projects because she was very intentional and very clear on what she needed to do at that time. And she knew herself well enough to know this is what I can do now. No, I can't do this other thing. This is what's most important to me. And I can do that later, or I can do this another time. And it doesn't have to be you've got to do it all at the same time. You can be very intentional and still be able to be, no, I want this. I think that's really
Mhm.
beautiful. Oh, now I feel like
Yeah.
I need to watch one of her movies. What is one of her
You know what is so funny? I've never actually watched one of her movies. I just was like fascinated with the human she is. I'm like, that's a really
Yeah.
good.
I wanna see her on the screen. I'm trying to see, like, what have I seen her before, or has she been into something? Okay, it looks like one of her most successful films was Samson and Delilah. Oh, it was
Mm,
directed by Cecil DeMille, and it was it was Paramount's highest grossing film of 1950.
good for her.
Wow,
Good for
and the film
them.
won 2 Academy Awards. Man, I'm super inspired. I wanna check her out. This is so cool. Oh, Brittany, this has been so much fun. So I think as we close out our conversation today and we think about like, as you think about maybe the young women that are coming forward, right? If we could think about the women who are younger, the girls that are, 13, 14, 50, 50,
Mm,
50, 15, who are carrying unhealed trauma. What advice would you give to those young women?
Especially at that age, I'm like, spend all of the time that you can getting quiet and learning what is your voice and what is someone else's voice. And we find that through exploring identity. What do I like? I'm like, go try as many fads, as many different color hair and makeup and whatever, like activities. And that's the only way to figure out if you like it or not. But the more connected you feel to that sense of self, the easier it is to navigate the rest of it.
That's incredible advice. Yeah, because the more they can understand their own voice, they'll be able to hold true to it in really difficult circumstances. Yay. What do you think collectively we can do to help shift the legacy for future generations of women so that we enter the workforce with less burden, more self-trust, and more capacity to lead?
I think, also so sorry if you can hear.
That's okay.
My son. Speaking of messy.
It's all good.
Someone's having a meltdown over there.
Yeah.
I think kind of coming back to this idea of curiosity, I love the question of like, who said? And so making a list of all of the beliefs, we get really stuck in this is how things are. This is how I believe that things in my life just have to be in the way that I have to behave. And if you can write down next to that belief or that thought, who said? And really engage with some playfulness, oh my gosh, it makes for incredible delegation and outsourcing and playfulness with life.
Playfulness with life. Yeah,
Yes.
It's an exercise in curiosity, and it's an opportunity to just like open up your mind to the possibilities. So cool.
Yes. Especially with ChatGPT now, right? Speaking of chat, I'm like, there's a plethora of, I have clients all the time. Go enter this belief or this truth that you have and ask chat, does that have to be true? Right? Like I didn't know what a house manager was for years. And then I found out, I was like, oh my gosh, I want 10. And
I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look this up myself. I would love a house manager, someone who can do my laundry for me. And
truly, but like runs your home. They know what is in your pantry and they help with everything, right? So that your time is spent with yourself or with your kiddos or where you would like to put it.
Yeah.
But chat was the one who taught me.
Wow. House manager. Love it. Well, oh my gosh, it's been such a delight to have you, Brittney. I would love for you to share with our listeners, where can they reach you? And is there anything special that you're doing, any new programs that you'd like to promote or share with our listeners today?
Yes, I play on LinkedIn the most. I always say, come follow me, play with me there. I'm on LinkedIn or I'm on Instagram a little bit. Honestly, that's more like pictures of my kids, things like that. So I recently launched a podcast. Yes, the Aligned Powerhouse is my newest project. And then I run tons of retreats. So if this resonates with anyone, I'm like, come on, like we do generational trauma retreats. So if you're going to do this work, let's do it with a warm cookie waiting for you at the end of the day. And tucked and nestled into Aubrey, Texas. That's my baby. Yeah. With other women, right, who get it.
Yes. It's so important that sense of community to be able to know like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
And especially if you've gone through trauma, you naturally just want to isolate. So it's a great way to train yourself that it's okay, you can be safe in community. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, Brittney. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. And until next time, say hello, Moxie.
Thanks for listening to the Hello Moxie podcast. If today's story sparks something in you, share it with another woman who's ready to rise. Learn more about our community by visiting hellomoxie.us and discover how the Moxie method can help you reclaim your voice and lead with impact. See you next time.